Welcome to Fantasy Football Aces. It's your boy William Wolf. I'm back. And we're live in week 11. Wow. Some things have gone down in the diamond. Took 3 weeks off for multiple reasons. One being, the decision was made 3 weeks ago. I didn't really want to give out any more data. I felt like I was in the heat of the competition. I know that, whether they admit it or not, like these guys will in my league, the Diamond League, they're going to look at it not in depth, but, checking here and there, to see if I am giving out any tips to take advantage of me in the matchups, in the tournament, in the fantasy football league. So kind of went back to my roots, which was my first Madden name when I was the best Madden player in the world, and was like, you know what, I got to be the secret. And that was my mentality back then when I was the best, like I want to keep things to myself and just, see what the results are going to be, right? And then, if you're right or wrong. But didn't really want to give out any like waiver thoughts. I would have been down to have guests, but coincidentally, like the same weeks that I was really slowing down on the waivers and the Sunday matchup or the Thursday matchup, it's because the guest couldn't be here. And I was like, I don't really feel like ranting by myself. But I have a lot to say. First and foremost, 6-4. Let's go here to the monitor in the diamond. 4-game losing streak. It coincides with Justin Fields. I should be 7-3. Matthew Stafford got hurt in that game against the Cowboys. If he doesn't get hurt, I win that matchup. But I guess we all have a story like that throughout a year, so it's really nothing. There's no excuse. It's just the truth of the matter. Justin Fields going down, and then combined with Matthew Stafford getting hurt in that game was a domino effect to an L. I should be 7-3. With that being said, I want to get into the first topic of the day, and that is Tony Pollard. I think any fantasy football quote unquote expert would say that you'd be lying if you're not listening to other people and their opinions to gather more data to like see, if the way you're viewing things is wrong or not. Speaking specifically about Tony Pollard. Now, the whole fantasy community, anybody who you see who takes this fantasy football seriously on a level where they're doing some kind of podcast or whatnot, or they're on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, just like giving out advice. We all know the professional ones, like the dude for ESPN. Can't even think of his name right now. He went to NBC, and Matthew Berry. So everybody's got an opinion, right? This is what I'm getting to. Tony Pollard, I want to give out some facts here, man. I don't think that I'm going through it. I have Tony Pollard. So it's like I could say I'm arguing for a bias, but I'm really not. I'm going to analyze this thing real good for you guys today, because if you're out there and you don't know what to do with Tony Pollard, you're trying to move him, etc., I don't agree. And I think that I'll get into this. So mathematically, there's only, I'm going to name them. There's only, I think, 5 running backs in the NFL that are getting over 70% snap share and are the goal line back. And obviously, if they're getting 70% snap share, they're most likely the goal line back. Um, Even DeAndre Swift, who's great, he doesn't get quite that many snaps. Gainwell's coming in on third downs quite a bit. They're more of a 65-35. They don't really run the ball with Gainwell, but they like to bring him in on third down. I imagine he's a better pass blocker. So even he doesn't fall up in this statistic. But you got guys like Christian McCaffrey, who is the true bell cow, 90% snap share. Gets the ball all the time unless he needs a break or he nicks something up and he has to go to the sideline. Christian essentially is in the game 24/7. Josh Jacobs, believe it or not, is a really good running back right now. Like, he's a guy you the only way you trade him is if it in context it really helps your team. And or you're desperate and you're trying to diversify and spread your talent out opposed to consolidating it, which we're going to talk about that here soon as well, because I consolidated some talent in the diamond to try to strengthen my team, take away the depth. That's what you do at the deadline. If you got a guy who's a big piece and you're desperate, you spread that talent around. And on the opposite spectrum, if you are a playoff team and you have a lot of depth, it's time to consolidate that debt and get better for your playoff run, which is right now, week 11, trade deadline. Now, we left off there with Christian McCaffrey. We left in Josh Jacobs. The next one is Travis Etienne, and I'm going to start flying through these. Travis, he's above 85% snap share. The downside with Josh Jacobs and Travis is their offenses are not that good. They're not moving the ball on third down consistently. They're not getting in the red zone enough. They're not getting enough opportunity to score points. That's what we do in fantasy football. We score points. So ideally, you want an offense that's moving the fucking ball and they're getting into the red zone and they're scoring. That is such a huge variable that people don't analyze right. That I don't get it. It's kind of like what I put my whole draft strategy on in the beginning of the year. If you check my videos, you want teams with top 10 offensive lines in the NFL, because if a team has a top 10 offensive line, they're more than likely going to have a great offense. It's no coincidence that all of my running backs and my teams that have good offenses and all the players that I have on my team, they have good offensive lines and their offense is moving the ball. They're getting first downs. You know what happens when you get a 10-yard first down and you move the chains on 3rd and 6? You get another 3 downs for an opportunity for your players to score more points, opposed to you punting the ball and then your guys are on the bench. They're sitting on the bench waiting for the defense to get off the field. So the perfect situation is guys like the Redskins. If you have buying Redskins players is huge right now. Their schedule's not that bad. Sam Howell's slinging it. The offense is good, and more importantly, the defense is fucking bad. That's a tangent though, and I want to keep going through guys here. Saquon Barkley is another one. I put him in the same category as Josh Jacobs. He's a 3-down back, but guess what? He's in a horrible offense that can't move the ball on 3rd down. So those three guys, Joe Mixon, he falls in that same category. So we got Joe Mixon, we got Saquon, we got Travis Etienne, Josh Jacobs, and Christian McCaffrey. All guys are getting the ball 70% or more, and they're the goal line back. Yes. After that, there is not a single player in the NFL outside of Tony Pollard and now probably Breece Hall who's entering that territory, and I will double check that right now. Jets snap counts. That's what I look at. I Google it. Any of you guys can do this. This is something really smart to do. Go to footballguys.com. They have, shout out to Football Guys. I don't fucking know you guys, but you're some football guys. That's for damn sure. So you got, you go there, you filter it out to 2023, and then we want to look at the New York Jets. And by the way, they can't get a first down. So this is not a guy you want, but He's at 70%. As I said, he reached it last week. I had a feeling he did. They traded away Michael Carter. It's the Breece Hall show now. 70%, 30% to Dalvin Cook. A very, very similar situation to what Tony Pollard is in. Now, this is a slow delivery here, and I'm getting to the point. Trust me, but I got to set the table before I, give you the whole meal, right? Tony Pollard's right at 70%. He's actually above that. He's in the 80s, and I'll explain why. The reason why he hasn't been in the 80s in this year's fantasy football season, and now we're going to go to Tony Pollard specifically. Tony Pollard is one of 3 running backs in the NFL that is a true 3-down horse, stays on the field all 3 downs, gets the goal line carries, and he's in an offense that has a top 10 offensive line, which is the reason why they're such a great offense. And I'm going to explain this further here. And he's the goal line back. So when you have those variables, sorry, my dog's barking. It made me lose my train of thought. Bree. Hold on. Bree, come. Bree, come. Come here. Good girl. Good girl. Be quiet. So, a lot of times, I want to explain something here. A lot of times, a lot of us, this football thing, it's very subjective. And your eye can see things that dictate whether or not you make decisions on certain players. We all know when a guy's amazing and when he's not that good, he can move different, etc. With that being said, even the guys that don't look good to you, if they're mathematically in the right situations, it's inevitable that they're going to do well. That's what these projections are based upon. And obviously there's some variance in the projections based on their output, and it does go up and down a little bit here and there. But a guy like Tony Pollard, for example, his minimum is 12 points. He's a 75% snap share plus. We'll use the plus sign there. 75% plus. He's the goal line back, and he's in a top 5 offense in the NFL. His production is not something that you're emotional on. I know that we're going to run this. What I'm trying to say is we run this over a course of 100 games. Tony would be just fine. Trust me. He's going to be just fine mathematically. But in a 14-week fantasy football, let's just say regular season, yes, you need the variance to be on your side during that 14-week period. But unfortunately, you run into situations like this year, which is very unlucky, that the variance is just, he's below his projection every week, by 5 or 6 points. And there's context in this that just shows the reason why this is a thing. And I'll give you the rundown right now. So the Cowboys, we're going to go backwards to make this a little bit more simple. Against the Giants, they absolutely blowed the Giants out. Defense, dominates. And the whole thing about the Cowboys right now, it's not like Tony Pollard isn't scoring and the offense isn't being successful. The offense looks absolutely fantastic. They found something right now. I think defenses in depth, when I look at the tape, I see that defenses are like, we're taking the approach of this. We're going to stop the run game, and we're going to make Dak beat us. And ideally, if I was the defensive coach, I would be using this philosophy, except I would be doubling CeeDee Lamb, which is not happening either right now. But essentially, teams are playing, zone. The blitzes that they're trying to disguise are pretty obvious, and Dak's getting one-on-ones all over. It's the mentality of like, make Dak beat you, because Dak fucking sucks. We all know, we've all seen this movie. We know how the movie's gonna end. He's gonna fucking blow it in the playoffs. He's gonna be bad. He's gonna do something bad. He has a good schedule. He has a good schedule. But the point I'm trying to make is they didn't run the ball. They didn't have to. And Pollard had the ball on the goal line twice. One specifically that he was at the inch and they play action and threw a touchdown to Ferguson. Like, that's supposed to be your touchdown. Like, if they hand the ball off, he scores. Like, it's just what they chose to do. It is what it is. You can't control that. But trust me, like, these are going to come. And if we're going to save them all for later in the year, or it's probably this week against Carolina, he'll do well. I mean, it's a slam spot. So if ideally he's going to score 20 something this week. But you know what? Even if, Dak's successful throwing the ball again this week, I don't know if you're paying attention, but CeeDee Lamb's having a run right now that's unbelievable. Dak's scoring 40 and 30 in the 30s every week. All those points are going to there. They're not getting allocated to Tony Pollard right now. Trust me, they will. There's going to be a point in the season here right now during this stretch that defenses are going to say, hey, maybe we need to try to stop CeeDee Lamb and not worry about the run so much. And then when that happens, Tony Pollard is going to be more successful. Trust me, defenses have game plans, and that's the game plan that you're seeing put. And you know what? Dak's showing defenses, hey, motherfucker, I could beat you because I got a dog in CeeDee Lamb. And we all know how good CeeDee Lamb is. And again, this is something great for Tony Pollard as well. And that goes into it's I don't even need to explain it because that's the whole point. Is Dallas is a top 5 offense in the NFL, and they have a 3-down horse dog who gets goal line carries. End the season last week, and then this is a new week, and you don't know any information except the numbers that I'm giving you right now. Trust me, you're gonna want to fucking have Tony Pollard. He's gonna be a top 10 pick. So, I guess the whole point of this is don't be results oriented. Just be patient. I gotta make sure I'm live because I've been I've been spitting way too much knowledge right now. What the fuck? Make sure I'm live, bro. All right. I'm live. Gus Bear's way to say you started early. Yeah. So that was a very long rant, but it was a lot of knowledge I just spit because it maybe can get you to look at things more objectively and stop look. That's what I try to do, by the way. Another motto of this show, stick with the numbers, bro. Like, don't overthink shit based upon your feelings, because at the end of the day, shipping out Tony Pollard right now would be a mistake, man. It would be a huge mistake. Tony's a hold, man. He's in a great spot, and his schedule these next 4 weeks are going to help you get a bye, most likely. He's got a tough matchup against Philadelphia, and that is really his only tough matchup. I think Buffalo in the playoffs is a slam. I even think against Miami in the playoffs is a good matchup. So I like those matchups. Their offense is going to do fine. Buffalo and Cowboys are going to get into a shootout. I can guarantee you that. And because it's at Buffalo too, it's going to be cold. And then at Miami, I see that being a shootout as well. I don't think either one of those teams are going to stop each other, and they both have good defenses. But it's one of those kind of situations where the offense prevails in those kind of matchups. It's just one of those matchups that's built to be a high scoring game, in my opinion. But Carolina, Washington, Seattle, those next 3 weeks, I would bet that Pollard scores more than 45 points. So 15 a pop on the half-point PPR format. So that's strong. That's better than what Yahoo thinks. Yahoo thinks, Yahoo had to cool down variance. They're seeing the yards per carry are definitely down on Tony Pollard. I think he looks okay. I don't think that the offensive line is particularly blocking super well for run blocking. They're pass protecting a little bit better. I think PFF would say that, advanced analytics, but overall, they're a great offense, and yeah, I would not trade Tony Pollard, man. I just wanted to get on that. The second main topic I want to get to right now is the Dolphins running back situation. I think that a lot of people have an opinion on this, and I just want to give you my perspective. And as adamant as I am about Tony Pollard on this one in particular, this argument, it's more, I'm more open to being wrong if I happen to be wrong. But I'm just going to go off math and statistics. And to me, what I'm seeing, I just, let's get into it. Achan's coming back this week. Now, I want to say something about Achan, man, so people can understand my perspective. Because if you took me out of context and just clip me on some of these things I'm about to say, y'all can try to make me look stupid. But trust me, I think that Achan he looks like Chris Johnson to me. If y'all remember CJ2K, that boy, that's how he looks. Like, Chris was different, and this dude is different. Like, Chris, when he went on that stretch run for Tennessee Titans, bro, the man was 99 speed, and he had moves, and he was a dog. He was taking shit to the crib, like, and when he went, nobody wasn't getting him. Now, that's how Achan is, man. So, clip that first. But I want to say this. I remember when everybody was crowning Christian Watson this past offseason. Trust me, I'm not comparing the two as far as talent is concerned. I'm just comparing situations. Everybody was crowning Christian Watson. And, I wouldn't even have had to say that little bit that I just said just a second ago if people understood that how differently they felt before the year about Christian Watson than they do now. Because now everybody knew. And, Christian Watson, he's just a bust, right? But I think that was more predictable than people thought. It's this very similar situation to what you're seeing with Devon Achan. Now, Christian Watson, like I said, we're not comparing talent or situations for that matter, because that really dictated Christian Watson's fate, is that his situation sucks, which is my whole point from the beginning. But Achan has only played 3 weeks in the NFL in his career. His whole life, he's only been in the NFL 3 games. Now, in those 3 games, he faced the New York Giants rush defense, which is one of the worst in the league. And he busted off a 76-yard touchdown. He also faced the Broncos. Now, I want you to keep in mind here, this is very important. In these same games, the Giants and Denver, Raheem Mostert had just as big of games as he did, statistically. People forget that. The only game that they were different was the Buffalo game. In the Buffalo game, they got dominated in that game. If you guys don't remember, the Bills were healthy at that time. They had Milano as their middle linebacker. He's the anchor. He's the whole heart and soul of that defense. Losing Milano for Buffalo, it was the end of the season. They know it. That's why drama is happening over there, is because, dude, he was the heart and soul. When you lose him, you're done. It's like losing Josh Allen on the offensive end. It's like, that's the genuine comparison. It's so hard to replace him. And then don't even forget about White, the corner. He's an elite corner in the NFL, gone out for the season. So that defense was axed right away. They're still playing well. But the point I'm making is they locked up the Dolphins that week, and Achan, he had one really nice play in that game, or 2 really nice plays, but they kind of were meaningless plays. And I'm not taking anything away from him, because Mostert in that game caught an amazing reception on the sideline, but outside of that, he fumbled twice in that game, I believe, or at least once, and lost one fumble, and then one went out of bounds. But either way, he had his one of his worst performances as a Dolphin this year, while simultaneously Achane having a pretty good performance, despite it kind of being irrelevant. Now, I say all that because we faced two of the softest run defenses in the NFL in those 2 out of those 3 games in his whole career. And now we crowning him. We fucking crowning him. We didn't even get a chance to see like let me look at this schedule. The Dolphins. Let me look at this schedule. I should be pulling it up on the desktop for you, but I want to be full so you can see me the whole time. So I'm not going to pull shit up on the desktop. If I had a fucking assistant, I'd have this shit real tight. And like every time I want to bring a stat up, I would bring it up so you can see it. That would be grade A production, but I'm not there yet, so bear with me. Now, I would have loved to see him go against that Kansas City defense this past week. I would have loved to see him go against a New England or a Philadelphia run defense. Philadelphia, by the way, being the best run defense in the league by far. They don't play that run shit. You go to Philly, put your running back on the bench and thank me later. Trust me, you most likely have a better option than a guy going against Philadelphia's defense right now. He missed his smash spot against Carolina, I believe. Yes, and Raheem Mostert scored 2 touchdowns in that game and caught another touchdown. 3 touchdowns against Carolina. Now, I'm going to get to Raheem Mostert in a bit, trust me. I'm just talking about Achane for now. We already gave the man praise. Chris Johnson, who's who I compare him to. But we didn't get a chance to see him go against any of those defenses. We got to see Denver, Buffalo, Giants. 2 dreadful run defenses. The sole reason why they're still bad against the run. I mean, I saw what I saw this past week. They were giving up the run in that game. Who was it against? I forget. It was against James Cook. Fucking James Cook, the Bills. They were running the ball on them. They could have ran the ball on them all game. Latavius Murray was going good too. That's why the Bills. What's wrong with them? They had to fire Ken Dorsey is because it's like they're not committing to the run when it's there. Like that's what's so good about Philly. Philly, they'll beat you in all different ways. Dallas is like that too right now. That's the whole point I was trying to make with Pollard. There's going to be games that Pollard takes over. Hopefully it's this week against Carolina. I can't guarantee it. I'm not going to guarantee anything. But I said I would bet money that Pollard over the next 3 weeks scores 45 points plus in half-point PPR. I would just bet that. I like that bet. And I could bet that right now, to be honest with you. I can bet it every week if on one of those sites. And I think that's a good bet. But yeah, the point I'm making is the last 3 weeks, the Kansas City, New England, and Philadelphia defenses were all real tough. And that brings me to Raheem Mostert. Now, Raheem Mostert leads the NFL in yards per carry. And he's had a full workload. He hasn't played only 3 weeks. This guy's played all year. They say he can't stay healthy. I beg to differ. 2 years in a row now, he's fine. If you end up watching this on tape, pause this shit right now and go YouTube search Raheem Mostert playoff performance against the Green Bay Packers when he played for the 49ers. He went for over 200, scored 3 times. It was the NFC Championship game, so that game propelled them to the Super Bowl. That was peak Raheem Mostert. That was when everybody thought he was the next best thing. The next year in fantasy, he was drafted like top 10, and he got hurt. But that was his real first injury of his career. He was young, bro. He was a journeyman, discovered late. He was a receiver out of college, transitioned to running back. That kind of journey takes time. But that talent has prevailed. Trust me, you're seeing it displayed right now for the Miami Dolphins. He was unbelievable in that playoff game against the 49ers. Gets hurt, goes to Miami. I've been a Raheem Mostert fan, and even in those first, even last year in Miami. So both years I've been a defender of Raheem Mostert because I'm going off what is happening in the real world, and he's good. He's really good. So Raheem Mostert, track guy, runs a 4.3, a fast 4.3 too. But all these guys, they have different running styles. Between Tyreek, Achane, and Mostert, they're all pretty close to being the same speed. Advanced Analytics shows that they're like all three of them are top 5 in the NFL in miles per hour recorded this year. So yeah, all three of them are fast. They just move different. I would say of the three, Achane in those games looked like the faster of the three. Tyreek looks faster than Raheem as well, I think. But trust me, all three of them are moving, man. They're moving. When they hit that burst on that top speed, they're gone. Like you've seen Raheem break these 30-yard touchdowns a lot, like the one against Kansas City this past 2 weeks ago. You see it when he hits the hole, it's over with. Like a lot of guys in the league, they'll hit that hole. Tony Pollard's like that right now, to be completely transparent. Tony Pollard will hit these holes that Mostert's hitting, and it'll be like a 16-yard gain instead of a touchdown. That's the kind of special speed that Raheem Mostert still has to this day. He's a top 5 mile per hour runner in the NFL this year. He leads the NFL in yards per carry at 5.6 with a full workload. Guys that I would consider running backs that are eligible for this stat are in order: Raheem Mostert, Jahmyr Gibbs, James Cook. Believe it or not, he's been fantastic. They just don't give him the ball. Christian McCaffrey, and 5th, Breece Hall. We have other running backs and quarterbacks that are also fall in this category, but I'll give you an example: Khalil Herbert. But I'm not going to count them because either A, they're not an actual running back, or B, they haven't had enough carries to qualify for what I'm trying to prove here. Raheem Mostert leads the NFL in rushing touchdowns. He's at 11. Christian McCaffrey, 9. To give context, Gus Edwards, 8, who we've seen the Ravens just absolutely abuse the halfback dive to Gus Edwards inside the goal line because other teams can't stop it. That's what you do. You say, oh, you can't stop Gus Edwards in the goal line? Yeah, we're just going to do that. Oh, you can't stop Raheem Mostert inside the 5 on a run? You can't. You know why? Because they send Tyreek in motion, and then they do the little handoff to Mostert, bro. The hole's there. He hits it hard, and it's a touchdown every single time. It literally is every time. You think that they're going to stop using that play? They're going to, oh, you know what? Actually, let's try Achane when we know Raheem Mostert's going to fucking score every time. It's like the Eagles. They get it. These teams get it. They're like, okay, oh, you can't stop the tush push? Yeah, when I'm on an inch or a 1, if it's 3rd down, I'm going to run it twice. If it's 4th down, I'm going to run it once. Like, you can't stop it. So, yeah, you're going to do it. It's just like a game. Like, if you think of things and stop overthinking shit and you play to win every single time, teams that get that, they're going to pull that off. They're going to say, okay, yes, we're just going to keep doing what's working. We know we're going to work. We know they can't stop it. So that's what's happening with Raheem Mostert. Like, Achane's not going to come in all of a sudden. According to PFF, Advanced Analytics, which analyzes a running back's performance on a grand scale, their yards per carry, obviously, but more in-depth advanced analytics like juke rate, yards over expected on a certain run based upon how the offensive line blocks. This is all in-depth analytics. Raheem Mostert is the 3rd running back, the 2nd that qualifies in the NFL. Christian McCaffrey is 1, and Raheem Mostert is 2. He's the 2nd qualified best running back in the NFL, Raheem Mostert. And you think that he's all of a sudden going to stop being good this year because Achane's coming back? No, if anything, they're both going to ball out, which was the point I was trying to make earlier when I said, yeah, the games that Achane balled out like crazy, Raheem fucking balled out too. They both balled out in different ways. Yeah, Achane had sexier plays. He broke that 75-yard touchdown. Like twice he did that. But Raheem was very productive. The offense moves the ball. They play action. They throw it to Tyreek Hill. Waddle catches some balls. They get in the red zone. Guess what they do? They give it to fucking Raheem Mostert, and he scores touchdowns. He's got 11 of them, and he's going to keep fucking getting them. What don't you get about that? Now, there's going to the times that Raheem Mostert struggles, it's because the defense is going to get slowed down. Or I'm sorry, the offense is going to get slowed down entirely by the defense. Did you see the game in Germany against Kansas City? Kansas City slowed the offense down. And guess who still had a good game in that game? Raheem Mostert. Despite the offense struggling immensely. But what happens is Achane being there is a good thing. Achane could break like 30, 40-yard runs, and then they throw a little dig to fucking Tyreek Hill, get down to the 4-yard line. Guess who they bring in? Raheem Mostert. Achane will get those plays every once in a while, but if he gets stopped on first down, they're going to say, okay, let's bring in the goal line back. It's essentially like they're just keeping him in because they want to keep that package and they want to run it down, another down, because they think that the defense, the packages that they have matched up against each other, they can't match up. So that's why teams do that. But then explaining a situation like this in full picture is that essentially what I'm saying is the game, even the times that Achane's in the game, it's going to benefit Raheem Mostert because he's going to help the offense get down the field. And then, like I said, when they get to the goal line, if once they run first down, if in that package, they're almost every team in the NFL, 99% of the time, will switch their package on second down. They're going to put in their goal line team. They have teams for this shit. They practice this shit all the time. So they have a goal line package. And guess who's part of that goal line package? Raheem Mostert is part of that he's always part of that package. Even when they have Achane in the game inside the 5-yard line this year, go look at the tape. Raheem Mostert is on the field as well. They're both on the field. So you want to trade a guy that is getting 50% of snaps in a top 5 offense. Keep in mind, guys, Tony Pollard is in a top 5 offense with 75% plus snaps. So mathematically, I mean, Tony Pollard's better than Raheem Mostert and Achane. Like, you're going to get way more opportunity mathematically with the Cowboys offense right now and him being at 75% plus snaps and the goal line back, opposed to, a Raheem Mostert Achane situation. I'm just trying to defend Pollard right now when I say that. But over here, Raheem Mostert's a 50% snap share guy. He's getting the goal line work, and he's in a top 5 offense. That is a guy you want to hammer in fantasy football. You want to take, even if the variance is not on your side and they're not performing and they're not getting the points that you would hope and want, or to win you games. And I know that's what it's ultimately all about, winning the week. And when they don't perform, it hurts your feelings. I get it. It hurts my feelings too. But don't be emotional and just stick with it, man. Sometimes the luck's not going to be on your side. But trust me, Tony Pollard is in a situation that's going to be great. Raheem Mostert, even with Achane coming, he's going to be great. If you're a Raheem Mostert owner, first of all, do not move him. That's why I'm telling you to watch this shit. Don't move him. Now, if you want to take advantage of somebody else that wants to move Raheem Mostert to you on the cheap, you're stealing from them. Trust me. You're stealing from them. This is an offense that's going to move the chains. They're going to get in the red zone. Raheem Mostert's going to be on the field. He's going to have a chance to fucking score points. And that's what you try to do in fantasy. You score points. Sometimes it doesn't go your way. You can't make the Dallas Cowboys hand it to Tony Pollard on the inch-yard line. You can't. Now, Raheem Mostert, could he run harder on third down? Yeah, I agree with that. But just be patient, young grasshopper. Tony Pollard is going to be fine. Raheem Mostert, keep him. If some idiot wants to trade him for the low, take him. Trust me. All right, I think that really covers the main 2 things that I wanted to talk about. And those were the 2 players that I mainly wanted to talk about. And now we're going to go to see if I got any questions here. Wow, I got a lot of questions. Leslie Frazier, their defensive coordinator from last year, has taken this year off. Remember that nugget. True that. Start Zay Flowers, Noah Brown, Marquise Brown, Trey McBride, PPR. Start two. Um, Noah Brown, you're not gonna start him. He's actually might not gonna play this week. Nico Collins is gonna be back, guys. Do not fuck with Noah Brown. Trust me, he is getting 70% snap share, and I do think that he is a guy that you can fly, but you're with other options. I don't think you fly him out. I think you chill on Noah Brown. I mean, in a perfect world, well, I guess Tank Dell kind of took Noah Brown's spot on the team essentially before his injury, but it was really the Robert Woods, Nico Collins, Noah Brown show, and then they knew Tank Dell inevitably was going to be get on the field. He's too good, and if you don't know this, CJ handpicked Tank Dell. After he got drafted, he called the organization. I mean, it's come out on tape now. It's more public knowledge now that I actually saw a video on it recently, but I did know that already. That he handpicked Tank Dell, so of course Tank Dell is going to be on the field. But Noah Brown, and I'm saying this because I think it's relevant for right now in the fantasy football season. Noah Brown, I think this week is a really good spot to see if he was playing because he's questionable. I assume he's not going to play, but let's say he did. I think it would be a good spot to see how he looks in the offense with all of those guys plus Robert Woods. Because correct me if I'm wrong, Robert Woods didn't play in the game against the Bucks, which opened up an opportunity for Noah Brown. But when they have all four of them, I'm not sure how they're going to use Noah Brown. I don't know if they like Robert Woods more for that role, but Nico and Tank Dell they're solidified, bro. They're gonna. I said this in the beginning of the year, and I'll triple down, I'll quadruple down. I told y'all this 4 or 5 weeks ago. I said CJ Stroud is fucking for real, and Nico Collins is a fucking dog. And people, Tank Dell's getting a little bit of love right now in the media. They're kind of forgetting about Nico Collins. FYI, the number one receiver in the NFL according to PFF for passer rating when throwing the ball is Nico Collins. And that doesn't shock me at all. Like every time they throw him the ball, they target him the ball, he dominates. He literally dominates the game in every form or fashion. He runs a streak, he catches it, he stiff arm people, he gets in the end zone. You can't stop him. He's too big, he's too fast. And then when he runs digs, he catches it, he breaks a tackle, he gets like 25, 30 yards. They hit him on crossers, he's open. They've done C route, what I call a C route. Other people are going to call it other things, but essentially it's a slant go corner. Essentially, that's the route, and he hit that in that game that he scored 2 touchdowns on. But with all that being said, the point I'm trying to make is I don't know how they're going to use Noah. I personally think you sit Robert Woods on the bench, but I think you need to wait one more week. And you have to keep in mind that you're flying out a third receiver because Tank Dell, and really the fourth, because Dalton Schultz is looking really good too. The whole offense is a big buy situation. You want a piece of that offense. I think Noah Brown, it's fair to hold him on your bench, but I wouldn't start him this week. Now that gets you to the next part of the question. You're going to start Zay Flowers and Marquise Brown. Ultimately, Kyler Murray's favorite option is going to be Marquise Brown. I think he's going to discover that he likes Michael Wilson a little bit too. And he loves himself some Rondell Moore. So I personally think McBride, he was way above the mean this past week. And I think he'll come back down to earth. I actually think McBride is fake gold right now. I don't believe in him yet. So that answers your question. Zay Flowers tonight against the Bengals. It's not a great spot, but you still got to roll with the talent. And he's the second option after Andrews on that team, but really the third because they want to run the ball first. And then the other being Marquise Brown. So I'm essentially picking Marquise Brown over Trey McBride, which I think is fair. Zay Flowers or Chandler, Ty Chandler. If Madison is out, you're starting Chandler. You have to. That's just math. You're getting a running back who's going to be a 3-down horse, and a pretty good offense with Dobbs slinging it around, and they're moving the chains with Hawkinson. I think Ty Chandler is a great start this week. Since Achan isn't fully proven, if you owe him, would you sell high? Since Achan isn't fully proven, if you own him, no, I would not sell Achan. Achan, as I said, is Chris Johnson 2.0. They know it. The Miami organization knows it too. I don't personally even think he's going to play this week, though. I don't think he's going to play this week. I think that they're going to put him in like 20 to 30% snaps. They're going to give 20 to 30% snaps to Jeff Wilson Jr., and then Raheem Mostert is going to be the starter, and he's going to be 50% snaps. He'll come out for drives, and when he comes out for drives, Jeff Wilson will play. There'll be sometimes that Achane and Mostert on the field at the same time, but they're going to ease him back in. They realize that they got a real fucking weapon in him, and when they mix him in, i.e. like the Tony Pollard was last year with Dallas, he's a fucking dynamite. You know what I mean? Like, you just give him the ball and he can make a huge play. And the defense isn't quite ready for him because maybe they didn't get the right package in. He's just coming onto the field, and they're not really prepared for that speed. And when they're seeing a certain kind of player run, like Mostert, who's fast as hell too, but he just got that stand tall glide kind of run, like i.e. Eric Dickerson kind of running. When Achane comes in, it fucking shocks you like a cold shower. So Achane, I think you're in a spot where if you have him, you've been waiting patiently for him to come back, obviously, because he's dynamite. Stay patient. You definitely don't want to move him. He's the guy that's going to win you a league, possibly. He's not going to like I said, I'm not even sure that he's going to play a lot this coming week if he plays. I predict they're going to not play him this week. I think they're going to rest him one more week. They got Mostert and Jeff Wilson. They don't need to rush this kid back, even if he's ready. That's just the way good organizations work. And they're playing a Las Vegas team that they know they're going to probably win anyways. Just ease him back in. But if he does play, 20 to 30%. Just be patient. But by the time the playoffs roll around, even though their matchups aren't the best in the world, he's going to be just fine. And Mostert's going to be just fine. And like I said in the beginning of the year, I swear, like, if you watch this show and you really fuck with me, like I said this, bro, I said, don't get rid of any of these Miami pieces, man. You want to be involved in these offenses. Dallas is balling right now, bro. Like, people are so mad at Tony Pollard, but they're forgetting that fucking CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott are putting up fucking Hall of Fame numbers right now. If they're putting up Hall of Fame numbers, how the fuck do you think Pollard's going to get points too? There's not enough points to go around. They're fucking balling. Let them ball. Let them boys cook. They're going to cook, and then eventually Pollard's going to get his time, bro. Trust me, he's going to get his time. And that's another fucking side tangent. But at the end of the day, don't get rid of these offenses that have players that are in fucking great situations. Top 10 offensive lines in the NFL with great fucking offenses. You want every fucking piece of that thing you can get. You want all of it. You want every fucking little bite. It's like a fucking best chocolate chip cookie you ever had, bro. Get you fucking part of this Philadelphia Eagles offense. DeAndre Swift, you're not moving him, bro. You're not moving him. You shouldn't be moving Devontae Smith. You shouldn't be moving A.J. Brown. These are guys you should want to acquire. San Francisco, same deal, bro. You want Ayuk right now. You want fucking CMC, obviously. You want fucking George Kittle. Which also, that brings me to another little point that I wanted to get to. A major point that I wanted to get to. That I want to give my feelings about. All the offenses in the NFL that are absolutely elite, we know who they are. The Miami Dolphins, the San Francisco 49ers, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Buffalo Bills when they're cooking, the Houston Texans right now, even the Redskins and Sam Howell, he's cooking right now. Let that young man cook. Jared Goff and the Lions. You want a piece of the Lions offense. Justin Herbert. You obviously want a piece of that if you can. I think the Bengals are heating up. And that's about it, guys. That's the list. You want those teams and players, man. You just do. Which I want to get into the next major topic, which involves these same rants that I'm doing about specific players that I think will help you not make a dumb trade out there. I'm going to enter the rest of these real quick. James and Dali O. Rest of season, White or Bijan. Love the show. That's funny. This is the reason why I kind of stopped doing the show too, though. Even though I know this is a joke. In some form of fashion, it is a little bit of collusion. I don't really like giving out, like I've been saying before, like I wouldn't start that dude. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't think that that's a good thing in a competitive league. So that's obviously from one of the league mates, Korea, who's in first place right now, 8-2. He has Devon Achane too. So that's another reason why I said I wouldn't do this show. I didn't want to do this show anymore. You know, he could see this and like, not that my opinion is fucking God, because it's not. In some form of fashion, it is part of competition, and hence why my name used to be The Secret when it came to Madden, when I was the best Madden player in the world. I didn't want other people to see my shit. I didn't want them to know what I was thinking. But he has Devon Achane, and I'm going to the monitor here. And he's the 1 seed right now. Korea's team is the one team right now that is very consistent. I went through bye weeks and injuries. I've had Justin Fields hurt, and I had a lot of buys the last 3 weeks, specifically last week. And I have been going through the same struggle that we all have with Tony Pollard. So that kind of will explain. And Matthew Stafford getting hurt in that game, or else, I'm 7-3. But with that being said, I'm fully healthy now. Yeah, my projections are as high as everybody because I made a big move that I'll talk about in a little bit. I made a trade myself. But the point is that Korea has a good team, and he has Achane. And, he's going to play him this week if they say he's active. But I don't know. I think they're going to ease him in this week. But Korea, he has enough firepower on his team that he can take the gamble on playing him anyways. But the rest of his team with Stephon Diggs and Allen, I think that their stock's coming down a little bit. I think the firing of Ken Dorsey is actually a bad thing for them. I think they're going to run the ball a little bit more. But he has a team that is very competitive, and he's the number 1 seed currently. And I'd say between him, legit, when he's fully healthy, Criminals, and myself, that's who's going to win the title this year. It's going to be one of us 4. I think Mahomes and it has a puncher's chance with Pat Mahomes, but the identity of Kansas City is a little different than it has been in the past. They want to play good defense. They'll run the ball if they have to, win by any means. Mahomes make big plays here and there. That's kind of like, the Aaron Rodgers way of winning sometimes with Green Bay. But for fantasy, they're not having, the explosive year that they had last year. I think that his team, Javonte he's good stock. I like Javonte stock right now. He's almost in that category of being a 75% plus snap guy, 3-down horse dog, goal line back, but he's not quite there yet. Derrick Henry, he's 50% or less snaps. They're in a really bad offense. He's boom or bust at this point. He really genuinely is. It's a sad situation there. That's the reason why I shipped DeAndre Hopkins. We're not converting the ball enough on 3rd down, and we're not getting in the red zone enough. The Will Levis game was a fluke. The first game, it was a fluke. If you can't light up the Tampa Bay Buccaneers the way after what C.J. Stroud and them boys did, then you're not it. So like the Tennessee Titans, their offense is you want to sell everything you can out of there. But Travis Kelce, he's always a buy. You can never have enough Travis Kelce stock. So that's going to be where I say he has a puncher's chance. big puncher's chance there. He doesn't have a flex. I just think that this team doesn't have a chance to win a title this year. I think it's going to be Korea, still legit, the Criminals, or Wolfman, myself, Fantasy Football Aces. I think that Korea jokingly is saying this because him and Kicker are in negotiation right now. And it's a very valid question he's asking me, Rashad White or Bijan rest of year. And I can't answer that question, unfortunately. So, yeah, I can't answer that question because Korea's got to make that decision on his own. And that's him asking me too, by the way. But I'm thinking out loud, guys, if somebody else asked me this question, I'd feel the duty to tell you. I will say this, though. Bijan has the best playoff schedule out of almost all the running backs. And we could take a look at that right now. Bishop Sycamore, he just shipped out Christian McCaffrey. We're going to talk about that in a little bit, and I'm going to analyze the trade. I'm going to analyze 3 other trades that I know. And then I'm also going to spit a topic about Taysom Hill because I got to talk about Taysom Hill. Everybody out there, I have an opinion about Taysom Hill. I think my opinion is right based on statistics and math. And I'm going to just have to be wrong because I disagree with the whole public about Taysom Hill. I'm bullish as fuck on Taysom Hill, just so everybody knows. I'm a fucking bull with Taysom Hill. I will load up on Taysom Hill. Oh, he's on a bye. That's why I couldn't see him. Sorry, guys. He plays playoffs Carolina and Indianapolis. Carolina and Indianapolis. Now, it doesn't get any better than that. He has a bye this week, so you'll have to serve that. But Bijan is got a really nice playoff schedule. And that's all I'm going to say about that. I could talk about a lot of other things, but I'll say that. Rashad White, he's a 3-down horse dog. He's getting 70% plus snap share. He's in a decent offense. I wouldn't say it's good at all. I'd probably argue it's not a good offense, but they can move the chains. They can move it with Mike Evans and Godwin. So he's an asset for sure. And I'm not going to say any more about that either. Pick one out. Then don't answer your league mate's question if you feel collusion would occur, but you are too good at this to stop. Pick one out of James Cook or Ty Chandler, half-point PPR. James Cook's playing against the Jets this week, so I would start Ty Chandler. Ty Chandler's... let me see this. I want to give you some insight about the Jets defense, too, because I think it's very important. But I want to look at... I want to double-check who Minnesota's playing. Why am I not seeing it? My eyes aren't seeing it. Oh, Broncos. Good, yeah. It's a slam spot. If Madison doesn't play, Ty Chandler, you got to put him in your lineup. You have to. Unless you have like running backs like me, then you're putting him in. If you're picking him over James Cook, I love James Cook, by the way. I think the stock is rising for James Cook. I think he showcased like how good he is this past weekend. Even though he fumbled a couple times, it's like, dude, give him the fucking ball. That's the reason why dude got fired. Latavius Murray was cooking too. They both were cooking. Run the fucking ball, bro. Like, what the fuck are you doing? And then taking Cook out on the goal line is the dumbest shit ever. That's your package. I want to take the second best player on my team off the field. Yes, James Cook is that good, guys. He's fucking 5th in the NFL in yards per carry, and he's like top 10 in the NFL PFF Advanced Analytics, like running back. He is way over yards over expected. He's one of the top 5 NFL players yards after contact. His yards per touch were like leading the league for a little bit, like 9.8. It's like, dude, get the ball, man, the fucking ball. What are y'all doing? Like, it's so bad. That's the reason why Dorsey got fired. Now, but to answer your question though, like you don't know what the fuck these guys are gonna do. Like the thing about the Jets and the insight that I wanted to give you about the Jets is that they're top 10 worse against the running backs this year, but they're top 10 best against everything else. And what that tells you is that teams can't do shit on them passing the ball. They got that shit locked. Their two corners are both top 10 in the NFL PFF advanced analytics for cornerbacks. Top 10, both of them. They're the only team in the league like that that's even remotely close to that. They're both dogs. And, you know, they have a great scheme. It's the San Francisco scheme. We know the head coach is from San Francisco. And that defense fucking locks bitches. And he's got the pieces. When you got that defense, that cover three that you can mix in, when your pieces are just better than the other person's pieces defensively, you're better than them offensively. You kick their ass every single down in the trenches, specifically with Quinnen Williams and that defensive line and those two linebackers that are fucking flying around, Mosley and the other kid, the brother Williams. Because they're brothers too. They're real brothers. They fucking fly around. And what happens is opposite almost to San Francisco, where you can't run on them, so you pass like crazy. Same thing with the Eagles. You can't really run on them, so you pass all the time. And that's why these teams are top 10 worst defensively. With the Jets, it's the opposite. Like, we can't throw shit on you, so we're just going to try to run. And then that run inevitably ends up being the way you move the ball down the field. And let me explain even further why this will make so much more sense. The Jets can't fucking move the ball. They can't score. They can't put up points. So when teams play them and they match up against them, they say, listen, we're not going to make a mistake throwing the ball. We're going to run the ball. We're just going to play defensive field position. We know we're going to win the field position game because the Jets, they fucking can't move the ball on offense. They're terrible. And we have probably a good chance of getting a turnover, i.e. a sack or a pick. A sack fumble, I'm saying. Or we're going to get them 3 and out a bunch and we're going to get the ball right back. Let's be safe, run the ball. And that's the reason why the Jets inevitably are a top 10 worst running defense. But they're still a really good running defense. They got Quinnen Williams and Mosley, and they got the brother at linebacker Williams. Like they literally have their defense is fucking flies around. Like you can't run on the ball. They're not a top 10 bad run defense because statistics say so. It's just because the way the game scripts always fall with the Jets. The game scripts are always going to be both teams running. That's the reason why Breece Hall is still a great option right now, especially now that he's over 70% snaps and they let Mike Williams go, another Williams for is it Williams? I know he got signed quick too. Jets release. It's funny, man. You forget so many people's names. Michael Carter, my bad. So they let Michael Carter go. That's the reason why. But the point I'm making is that these teams get in game scripts where it's just a defensive showdown. Don't make a mistake. Don't turn the ball over. Both teams run the ball. And that's the reason why statistically they might look vulnerable for running backs. And you know what? There's an argument to be made to be starting James Cook. The reason why I say Ty Chandler over him, because he's in a smash spot. If Madison doesn't play, he's going to have a chance to have a huge game against the Broncos' run defense. And vice versa, James Cook, he's a gamble right now, I think. Like I think stock's up, as I said initially. Ken Dorsey fired. I think that they're going to run the ball more. I think that that's one of the main reasons why he got fired, because too pass happy. They were like 3rd in the NFL pass over expected. I think 2nd in the NFL actually. So they're just passing the ball first, opposed to, like, you have to be like the Eagles. Like I said earlier, you have to be able to. You have to be like the Super Bowl winning teams like the Patriots. Like, where if you can't stop the run, motherfucker, we're gonna run. If you can't stop the pass, then we're gonna fucking pass. But you don't just do one thing, and that's kind of what Ken Dorsey was doing. You can see that Dable, the head coach for the Giants now, the old offensive coordinator for the Bills, he did a way better job at mixing that offense up and making it really hard to stop. But I don't know if they're going to give James Cook the goal line carries yet. So I need to see one more week. And the fact that you have an option like that where you're not forced to start James Cook like I am in one of my leagues, where I'm still optimistic, but I'd rather go with that guaranteed, bro. That's just math. You want to go with the right math. I think that you're in a better spot with Ty if Madison is fully out, which I think he is going to be. Achane and Walker for ETN and Dell. Other running back is Swift and Jalen Warren. Swift and Jalen Warren. I don't know if what your receiver situation is like. That's a really good one, man. That's a really good one, man. Man. That's a really tough one, guys. Jalen Warren, I don't, even though I know he got announced as the starter, I don't think the roles is going to change that much. And their offense still sucks, even though he's the bright spot of the offense. I think he's the firecracker of that offense. That's the reason why he got promoted to starter. But there's still going to be, 50, 40%, somewhere close to that split. And then you have Achane coming back. I think Swift and Walker and Jalen Warren can hold you over until Achane is fully back. And I would hold on that theory. And then I know the trade deadline's right now, but I would hold. I think ETN is one of those kind of guys. It's a smash, but I'm going to go look at his schedule real quick for you so I can really give you my true opinion about it. I know who has ETN in our league. It is the Criminals, and he has CMC as well. We got Tennessee at home, Houston on the road, Cincinnati at home, then Cleveland on the road. Then in the playoffs, we have Baltimore and Tampa Bay. I don't want Travis Etienne, guys. Cleveland week 14, Baltimore week 15, Tampa Bay week 16. Those are 3 dog fucking defenses against the run, against running backs. And legitimately, too. Not just on some bullshit. Like, no, they fucking lock running backs. No, I don't want ETN, dog. I just don't. I don't. I mean, he's still got a good mathematical chance. He's a 75% plus dog, 3-down horse dog, goal line running back. So he's one of those guys you want for sure. Like, for sure. But if we're at the point in the season right now where we have to analyze matchups a little bit more, I think I'd rather hold on Achane, man, because Achane has a chance to win you a fucking league. On the contrary, Achane's schedule is not so fucking bad, guys. Achane, let's say he doesn't even play this week. We got Jets, Washington, Tennessee, Jets. Now, like I said, in theory, that's one of those spots that Miami's going to kind of learn that they can't really run the ball, and they're going to get pass the ball, and they're going to get in a defensive battle. And I think Achane and Mostert are going to get at least probably 15 plus carries each in that game, maybe. And both times they play the Jets is what I'm saying. They're going to be in defensive battles. Washington and Tennessee, those are great spots. Obviously, if he plays against Vegas this week is a great spot. And then your playoff schedule is the Jets and Dallas. Now, I think the Dallas game is going to be a shootout, personally. They are good against running backs, but I think that's because they're vulnerable against passing and a little bit with the injuries that they've had and sustained. I think that also that ranking for Dallas doesn't consider the fact that their linebacker who just went out for the year with neck surgery, I think his career might be over with, the big white boy, I forget his name, good-ass linebacker. He's gone. Obviously, they lost Diggs. I just don't think their defense is as good as fantasy says they are. Let's just put it like that. I think that they're a little bit more vulnerable. That's who you have in a buy spot. In week 15, you got the Jets at home. That's not a good spot, but I don't know. I think that with the situation that you have, unless you really need receiver help, I would hold, man. And I'm not a Walker fan, by the way. I think Walker, I like him as a talent, but he's just not getting it. He's getting 50% of snaps. He's not getting third downs. He's not getting third and longs. He's not getting third and shorts. He's not in any of those packages. All those packages are for Charbonnet. And so it turns out in a game script, like he's in for 50% of the packages compared to Kenneth. And it's just not, I don't think it's mathematically a good situation for Kenneth Walker. But Swift is a keep for sure, which you already know that. And Jaylen Warren, his stock's going up. So, I think those guys can hold you over, and maybe you sit Walker down, or you play the matchups between Walker and Warren, and Achane and Swift are must starts. Walker and Jaylen Warren, I think that you probably, play the matchups on those guys. And Walker has shitty ass matchups, so you're probably going to be playing Jaylen Warren quite a bit. But I don't know though. If you need receiver help, I would do Tank Dell. Yeah. All right. So, and they punished. By the way, I think this is high in a different league. Trolling. Now that I think about it, this sounds like a platinum league trade. But you don't have Kenneth Walker, I don't think so. No, it's not. They punished Cook the majority of the first quarter because the first grab, he's fine. I like James Cook. The stock is going up for James Cook. Skip the pick 3 question when you get a chance. Lamar or Stroud? Oh, man. I'd have to look at the in-depth shit, but I probably would roll with Stroud, man. God, that's such a hard thing to say, though, out loud. That's a really tough one. If you have both, you play the matchups, but if you're choosing in a trade, it'd have to be a different kind of package. I think that Lamar demands more. I think in most people's eyes, Lamar is the golden ticket there. But that's a tough one, man. Houston's got a really sexy schedule, man. I would be buying the much Houston Texans stock as I can, man. I think I would choose CJ Stroud, man. I think he's that boy, that man. That guy, he's him. CJ Stroud is real, bro, and he's got swagger. He's got like that low key fucking confidence too, like that Tom Brady confidence kind of shit. Like he really ain't super loud with it, but he knows he's that guy. Like he knows he's that guy. Like people are like, oh, y'all are finding out now, but yeah, I'm him. Like, he's got that kind of swagger and confidence. You can just see it, bro. Like, he handpicked Tank Dell. Nico Collins is a fucking dog. He got lucky to get that big boy on his team, or already have him on his team, I should say. They made a great move in getting Dalton Schultz. And then, they got the veteran Woods, and they picked up Noah Brown from the Cowboys, who seems like he's got talent. So, like, yeah, he's just slinging it around, bro. And he's the reason why they're so good. They drafted some offensive linemen. But he's the reason why it's him. Quarterbacks always make the receivers, not the other way around. I believe that firmly. So good receivers, they're going to be elevated by a great quarterback. Just look at the Garrett Wilson situation. If Garrett Wilson was on the fucking Houston Texans, he would make Tank Dell look like shit. He would even make Nico look like nothing, because Garrett Wilson will be fucking dominating if he had CJ Stroud. Just like I think he would have dominated with Aaron Rodgers. Granted, Aaron could be over the hill. I don't know that for a fact, but he could be. And CJ's coming up right now. So the point being is that I don't know your situation, full context. Half point, pick point 3. That's the pick 3 I did. And then I want to get into my Taysom Hill rant. So no more questions after this one. Pick 3, half point, PPR, Cup, DJ Moore, Hollywood, Devontae Smith, and James Cook. I answered the James Cook or Ty Chandler. I'd go Ty Chandler. Devontae Smith, Hollywood, DJ Moore, Cup. Cup, you're definitely not taking out of your lineup. DJ Moore, you're never taking out of your lineup with Fields. I can see you taking DJ Moore out of your lineup when Fields is in there. But when Fields is there, bro, I'm a Fields holder, just so y'all fucking know. I believe in Justin Fields, and I'm going to get into my trades that I made here in the last 4 weeks that will emphasize how much I believe in Justin Fields. The same reason I fucking spent a lot of fucking salary capital on him this year in my fantasy football draft, which is salary. I spent on Justin Fields because I believe in that boy. And it ain't no Chicago bias, bro. I'm just going off what I see, bro. That kid's a fucking freak. That little bullshit ass thumb injury, man. We were witnessing a movie. He was gonna light the Minnesota Vikings up in the second half. So definitely DJ Moore and Cup, and then between Hollywood Brown and Devontae Smith, I gotta roll with the Eagles, man. I gotta stay in that offense. I gotta keep Devontae in my lineup no matter what. I can't be results oriented. Just roll with the team that is scoring a lot of points. He gets deep ball opportunities, plenty enough. He had one against Cowboys. He's always, with all the people around him, the way they're able to run the ball, having top 3 offensive line in the NFL, arguably the best. The way they're able to make the defense, try to decide what they want to do and what they want to stop. Devontae's always going to have those games that it's possible that he blows up for like $170 and 2 touchdowns. And then, he's going to have dud games as well when other people get the ball, i.e. like what's happening to Pollard right now in the Dallas situation and what can happen in Philly sometimes, like when you see Devontae or DeAndre Swift not have a good game because A.J. Brown just blows up. That can happen in these big times offenses, but it's worth the risk because it can mathematically that those points should be distributed to your guy at some kind of rate. And the rate is dictated by the algorithm and how they formulate projections. So take those projections seriously. They're smarter than you are. All you're doing, you have a subjective feeling in the way you look at people and stuff like that. But now that the advanced analytics is available to you for like PFF.com, like you can see the way guys are performing individually, even offensive linemen, and you can look at it from a numbers perspective and not look so much of it with your feelings. Which I think brings me into my major point. Devontae Smith would be the third one, but that brings me to a major point, and that is Taysom fucking Hill. I got to speak about this man. Taysom little points from here, Taysom little points from there, Taysom little points from everywhere. Yes, Taysom Hill is a guy I'm extremely bullish on in the rest of the year. I want to make a really hot take here and tell you that I believe Taysom Hill from week 12 on, because he's on a bye this week, week 12 on, counting playoff weeks, week 15, 16, and 17, I believe Taysom Hill will be the tight end 2 or 1 in all of fantasy football. I think that Travis Kelce is obviously going to probably be the 1, and I would bet money on Taysom Hill being the 2. Why do I think that? These last 3 years, we've seen the evolution of Taysom Hill. We get a little glimpse. We don't get the full, movie, but we get a little glimpse of him, right? Sean Payton leaves town. They experimented with him at quarterback. We all know the journey. At least most of us know the journey of Taysom Hill. So he goes through and he gets into this season, opens up the year, and it's the typical Taysom Hill role. Get him in every once in a while. Very gimmicky. 30% snaps or less against Tennessee, 3 points. Carolina, comes in. He only plays 30% of snaps, but it was a game script that favored them. And he got 9 rushes for 75 yards. He had 1 reception, and he threw the ball once for 8 yards. He ended up with 8.3 points. Very serviceable for a tight end, in my opinion. Only at 30% snaps. But mind you, this is the way his career has gone all along. This is super important, guys. I really need to hammer this home. That was his career at this point. He's still on that path. He plays Green Bay, 30% snaps. And you know what? I kind of want to show I kind of want to show these statistics, but you just have to trust me that I'm telling the truth. I'm pulling it up too, so I'm just not really just like I know for 100% fact the shit that I'm saying is 100% right. All right, so Taysom Hill. Week 2 against Carolina, when he had 8 points, guys, this is very important. He got 40% snaps. Like I said, the game script was in favor. He got 40% snaps. They won that game against Carolina, obviously, right? Green Bay, at Green Bay. He's still staying in his normal role, 30%. By the way, even against Carolina, it was a fairly normal role. They couldn't stop him, so they left him in more than they normally do in that certain package. And all their tight ends were healthy at that point in time. Then he plays Tampa Bay, and he gets 30%. No, 1, 2, 3, 4. Against week 4 against Tampa Bay, he got 51% snap. He had 1 catch. He had 4 rushes for 10 yards, and he had 1 passing throw for 13 yards. 54% of snaps. I think that was when their tight end got hurt, and he came in as an emergency tight end, essentially. Then, against New England, they're healthy. He plays 39% snaps. I'm getting to the main point here, because even on the fluke week that he had 51% snap, week 4, I'd have to look at full context there, but he wasn't in the same role that he is now. Against New England, week 5, he played 39% snaps. Now we get to week 6, the golden week. For the first time in his career against the Houston Texans on the road, they used Taysom Hill in the role that he is currently in. He's on the field for the next 4 games, 60%, 60%, 45%, and 46% in this stretch. Essentially on the field for, on average, about half the time, either as a tight end or a quarterback who's going to run the ball. In that stretch, he had, and this is also important in context, in that stretch, he had the first game against Houston, 1 pass for 4 yards, 1 rushing attempt for 2 yards, 7 catches for 50 yards, only 8.8, but more than 10 in PPR. His first game in that role, because the tight end's hurt at this point. He got hurt in the New England game. I think it was Fournette. I can't say his name right, but the tight end that starts with the F, Juwan Johnson, he was banged up too. The next game against Jacksonville, he plays 60% of snaps again. This is his new role. 5 rushing attempts for 18 yards and a touchdown. He's the goal line back. He was the goal line back the week prior too. And then 4 receptions for 50 yards for a grand total of 14. In PPR, he was like 18. Now I'm going to move this along quicker. You're getting the drift here. Against the Colts, 22 points. He threw the ball for 44 yards. There was 1 pass to Shaheed in that game. 9 rushes for 63 yards and 2 tutties. 1 catch for 14 yards. The next game against Indianapolis, I said that already. So Indianapolis, and then the next game against Chicago, 1 pass for 3 yards and a touchdown, 11 rushes for 52 yards, 4 receptions for 13 yards and a tutty for 18 points, and and in PPR over 20. And on all these games, he played over 50% on average or more. First time in his career. He's playing tight end sometimes, and they're throwing little passes to him, little flat routes, little curl routes in the middle of the field. It's essentially like a running back dump down. Bro, yes, that's what they're doing. And those points add up in PPR. And then just when everybody's starting to like say noticing what's going on with Taysom Hill, last week happens. And all this is important. And Yahoo raised his projection to 10.29 against the Minnesota Vikings on the road. Yahoo had him ranked 2, 5, 2, 2 projection. 2, 2, 5, 2. And then all of a sudden, week 10, what does Yahoo do? They raise his projection to 10 points because they saw what I saw. The math showed it. They're like, yeah, this guy's on the field for 50% of the time. And this offense, the way they're using him and running the ball with him, and he's at tight end and he's playing quarterback sometimes. He's literally getting receptions, he's running the ball, and he's throwing the ball. It's like a quarterback at tight end, essentially, but a one that runs the ball pretty much all the time. And not even like a quarterback because you fucking receive the ball too. It's like a running back. You're having a running back at tight end, but he throws it sometimes. Like i.e. Derrick Henry, he throws it sometimes. Granted, he's only playing 50% of snaps, but Raheem Mostert's only playing 50% of snaps. So if you're on the field 50% of the time and you were heavily utilized in the passing game, the receiving game, and the rushing game, that's a fucking asset, bro. That's the reason why I say he's going to be the second tight end in all of fantasy after Travis Kelce the next 4, 5, 6, 7 weeks. Don't count this week, so 6 weeks because he has a bye this week. Against Minnesota, they project him at 10.29. Huge disappointment. But what happens in this game, guys? Context. Bro, Minnesota blowed them out. They got up by 24 points super early. Carr ends up getting hurt in that game. And then Jameis Wilson is just slinging like a motherfucker. They didn't have no Taysom Hill packages at that point. He came in a little bit. He had 2 or 3 targets from Jameson on little dump downs. But Jameson's looking downfield, bro. They're not doing that Taysom Hill bullshit. They're trying to fucking score. They're down 24 points. So of course Taysom Hill doesn't fucking have a good game. Like, but do I panic? Fuck no, I don't panic. Because I know if Taysom Hill goes back to that same role that he just had, Yahoo better fucking give him a 10-point projection again because math is telling me that he's averaging fucking 16 points a game. I mean, he's above the mean, but a 10.29 projection, bro, that's a solid fucking fantasy tight end. That's arguably the best. I mean, there's only a few better in half-point PPR. Obviously, Travis Kelce. Obviously, you can make an argument for like the core guys like Laporta, obviously Mark Andrews, who's playing tonight, and a couple others, right? But I'd argue I'd rather have Taysom Hill in there because I know Taysom Hill's going to get goal line carries. This Taysom Hill that we're seeing here, this tight end, he gets goal line carries. Motherfucker, you could put a tight end who gets 50% snaps and he gets goal line carries. He catches the ball sometimes and he throws that bitch sometimes and he fucking rushes it probably like 7 or 8 times. Are people stupid? Like Taysom Hill is an asset right now, man. If you don't have Mark Andrews or one of those certified goon fucking tight ends, like you should be starting Taysom Hill. That's not even debatable. Now, if you have somebody like Mark Andrews or Kelce or Laporta or like maybe one or other 2 tight ends, arguably, then you have more to think about it. But come on now, Yahoo put him at 10.29. They play Atlanta at home, on the road. They play Detroit at home. They play Carolina at home, Giants at home, at Rams, at Tampa Bay. Those are 5 out of 6 games. I'm taking Detroit out of the equation that they're going to be in a hell game. And you're going to get 50% snaps from Taysom Hill. They're going to use those packages, they're going to be in the game. And there's advanced analytics that's showing that when Taysom Hill gets over 8 rushes a game. The New Orleans Saints are like fucking 17-1. You know what that tells you? That they're in close games and they're using Taysom Hill packages and they're winning games. So you look at the schedule and you're like, yeah, Atlanta, hell game. Carolina, hell game. New York Giants, hell game. Rams, hell game. Tampa Bay, hell game. Don't count Tampa Bay because it's the championship. You don't have to. The only game out of those that is debatable that a bullshit script can happen, Detroit, like hypothetically, Detroit can blow the Saints out, and then you start to see those stupid packages you're seeing now where Taysom Hill's not on the field and they're just slinging it, trying to catch up. But that doesn't happen very often, and it might not even happen against Detroit. Detroit, they might end up using Taysom Hill 50% of the time too. Detroit is, they're not that good against tight ends, so if Taysom Hill gets some more receiving work, maybe he'll ball out in the middle of the field. That tells me that Detroit's a little bit vulnerable in the middle of the field. So I would argue Taysom Hill, Yahoo hasn't adjusted it yet, but when Week 12 pops up in Atlanta, they're playing Atlanta on the road, who is not that good against the run. They're a little bit better against they're above average defense. They're decent against everything. They're bad against tight ends. Overall, they're a team that's going to be in hell games. Taysom Hill's going to be a slam spot against Atlanta off the bye. And then Detroit will be one of those situations that if you have a better option, maybe you start him. But, I mean, I don't really see how you can take Taysom Hill out of your lineup. I'm going to have some really tough decisions for myself, which gets me into a couple trades that happen in my league, guys. I would bring it up on my screen, but I don't want to show if I possibly have some waivers going on. So, I will say this. I'm on a 4-game losing streak. I'm 6-4. I'm still almost a lock for the playoffs, but not a lock yet. But in my matchup this week, which I can show, in my matchup, I have Justin Fields back for the first time in 4 weeks. Really excited about him. I don't think matchups really matter that much, except if it's like Cleveland's defense or San Fran's defense or no, not even Eagles. I would say those two defenses are like really the only two defenses I'd be a little scared to start Justin Fields. But other than that, he's a must-start kind of guy if you have him on your team. The ceiling's way too high. He can go for 45. He could rush for 200 yards. He can throw for 400. Like, the potential of him is immense. Nico Collins, Puka, and you see a new player on my team. My new toy. This is my new toy. Amon-Ra St. Brown. Now, why did I go after Amon-Ra St. Brown? Because I'm a Jameson Williams holder. And I have become impatient with him, his breakout, which I still think is inevitable. But with it not happening yet, and by the way, he caught a touchdown last week. I think Jameson's stock is starting to rise like a motherfucker, if you ask me. But with that being said, I needed to improve my team. I had James Cook on my bench. I had Sam Howell. And Sam Howell was a serviceable guy for me a couple weeks, and he's leading the league in passing. He's third in all of fantasy. He's an absolute star right now. I star for fantasy, guys. Don't get that twisted. A star for fantasy football right now. Howell's having an incredible year, him and CJ Stroud. And with that being said, I knew that with that depth, and I can improve either one of my running backs, consolidate like that, sell one of my running backs with James Cook and plus another piece to improve another piece, right? So I was trying to put in a package for CMC. I was in deep negotiations in that package and ended up getting blown off and CMC sold to another team. But with that being said, I did make a move right before that. Kicker CMC, Bishop Sycamore. He was he was selling CMC, and he made me wait a week, which I didn't like. So I ended up looking at I Am Nice's team, Gary, who's in 12th place, and I was like, what can I do here to improve my team off of him? Because I looked at his team and I realized that he didn't have a quarterback. Will Levis had been a disaster for him. He had, other disasters on his team at quarterback. It's just been a really bad year for him all around. And I said, this is the kind of guy that I can sell Sam Howell to. He coincidentally also has two guys on a bye this week. His running backs, Ramondre Stevenson and Kamara, both on byes week 11. So I was able to offer Cook, even though Cook's stock is down in most people's eyes. I was offered him, Sam Howell, and I at first I was thinking about doing something like that for Ramondre Stevenson. I thought that I'm a big buyer on Ramondre right now. I think his stock is soaring, and I think really highly of him as a player. I don't think his situation is that great, but I do think that he is the bright star in the situation. I think if Zappy starts, I think that's a good thing for Ramondre. I think that's a good thing for the whole offense, actually. So, yeah, I mean, he catches the ball out of the backfield, 60% snap share. I think Ramondre is a good player, a little bit more than 60% sometimes. They begin Zeke involved quite a bit. But then I looked and I saw Amon-Ra St. Brown, and I said, man, do I want a fucking piece of that Detroit Lions offense. And I asked him, I said, is St. Brown on the table, or is he on the block, essentially? And, he said he was, and I knew that Sam Howell, I had to take a gamble on Justin Fields, because Justin Fields is a kind of player that I think who I drafted to, win me a ship this year. I just think that having a guy who has that kind of rushing ability is invaluable. I believe that, guys like him, Lamar Jackson, Josh Allen, those kind of guys that are rushing, Jalen Hurts, the players that I named in the beginning of the year before the year started in my quarterback video, which you can find on my channel. I said, those guys are invaluable, and I think that that's the reason why I wanted to take a gamble on Justin Fields the rest of the year. And I shipped out James Cook, Sam Howell, and DeAndre Hopkins for the new toy I have, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And as I said, Jameson Williams, I still am super bullish on him, but now I can be even more patient with him. If I have to, I can throw him into my flex. If Raheem Mostert's has a bad matchup, like when he plays the Jets, and I just feel more, and I see that Jameson is emerging, I will play both of them. I'll play St. Brown and Jameson. That's how much I believe in that talent and that offense. It's like basically saying, would you start Waddle, and would you start chasing Higgins, or would you start, I mean, not this year, but in prior years, would you start fucking Waddle and Hill? Would you start Devontae Smith and AJ Brown? Yeah, I would, man. Fucking, I'll gamble on those offenses all day. And I would start St. Brown and Jameson at the same time if I had to. That's how much I believe in him. But with that being said, I had a chance to consolidate talent, and now my team's absolutely certified. I got Justin Fields, I got Nico Collins, the dude in a Houston Texans offense that's exploding. He's the number one receiver. He's big as fuck. He's fast. He has great hands. Nico Collins is a beast. He's going to be a superstar in the NFL in the next 5 years. Puka Nacua, he's a dog. I need Stafford to stay healthy, but, he's another good receiver. And then I have Amon-Ra St. Brown. Them boys are locked in. St. Brown's my one now. He's a beast. He's a PPR legend. You know what I'm saying? Like, Goff stares him down. The run game is impeccable. They're the number one offensive line in the NFL. So that means play actions. You just see St. Brown running naked and underneath. You see Jameson Williams running naked on crossers too. Goff missed him last week, but dude, if he had a 50-yard touchdown, if Goff saw him, Jameson's wide open in the middle of the field on a crosser. Go look it up. And he can't get into him. He waits, and then Jameson is essentially all the way to the sideline, and he throws a ball underthrown that Jameson has to go down and catch. The funniest part about that whole situation is if Jameson would have dropped it, which he didn't, he caught that one. If he would have dropped that, they would have shitted on Jameson. That's what the fantasy football community would have done. But instead, they don't acknowledge that, hey, if we hit Jameson in stride right there in the middle of the field, it's a fucking touchdown. It's a 40-yard touchdown. Then he gets another play called back for a touchdown on the screen pass where it was a bullshit call. They called chop block on the offensive line, and it was bullshit. It wasn't a chop block. He fell down. Like, it was an easy fucking screen touchdown to Jameson Williams. That's 2 touchdowns he should have had in the same game. That's number 2 receiver, number 1 receiver kind of volume. Obviously, it's got to happen. He's got to get more than 50% snaps, which I see slowly increasing right now. Josh Reynolds sucks. But the point is that I got him. I got Tony Pollard, who I've told you I'm still very bullish on. I love the statistics behind Tony. Top 5 offense, 75% plus snap share, goal line back. There's only 3 of those guys in the league, and one of them's name's Christian McCaffrey. I think Pollard is going to be just fine. DeAndre Swift, another guy who has a great schedule and who is the number 1 back, even though he's getting pulled on third down too much. They're bringing Gainwell in on third down, which is essentially why you see a 65%, 35% snap share. It's because every third down is essentially going to Gainwell, but they're not really using him. It's like more because he's a better pass blocker, I think. So because they're not using him much. He's like catching the ball sometimes, but it's not really like designed. Obviously, 2 weeks ago against Dallas, he had that one run where he was in and he broke it, but that was like just kind of like fluke. He's not getting the ball. He's more of a passing down kind of guy, and he's not the goal line back. So it's kind of like Latavius Murray, but like not getting the goal line runs. But anyways, I have Mark Andrews still, and I have Raheem Mostert, who I've talked about as well. I'm super bullish on all those guys. I have Taysom Hill, who I'm ready to deploy. There's a very good chance I start Taysom Hill instead of Mostert when they play against the Jets the first time. I need to see what happens in that game. I need to see what happens, and then I'll be prepared for the playoff one. When they play the Jets again, I'll know like what that will look like how Miami kind of matches up with them offensively. But I need to see it first, and I really believe in Taysom Hill, and that'll prove to you how much I believe in him. Because think about it, guys. I'm trying to tell you this. I know Miami's in a top 5 offense, but Mostert's going to be a 50% snap share guy, and he's going to be the goal line guy. Taysom Hill's a 50% snap share guy, and he's a goal line guy. And Taysom Hill has great matchups. He plays Carolina, the Giants. He plays some shitty-ass teams. There's slam spots for Taysom Hill. He's going to go for 20-plus points. I can't emphasize this enough, man. I really believe in Taysom Hill. If I'm wrong, then so be it. If I'm wrong, actually, I'll say this. If I'm wrong, it's because he didn't stay in the role that he's in now. He's at a 50% snap share role right now. If he stays in that role where he's playing tight end, he's playing quarterback / running back, if he does that, specifically the tight end part, because he's getting 4 catches a game or sometimes less, but he's potentially can get up to 7. That's the kind of guy that if he does that and runs the ball 9 to 10 times a game, which he's been averaging, he's going to be very productive. And especially if he's the goal line back, he gets on the goal line and he throws a touchdown. Yes, I have him and I'm excited to play him. So I'm in a really good spot heading into the playoffs. I feel like I have Jameson Williams as a backup essentially for Amon in case he gets hurt. And if he got hurt, let's say Amon got hurt, I think Jameson Williams would become like a top number 1 receiver in the NFL with that offense. Meaning for fantasy. I think like hypothetically, let's say St. Brown got hurt in this game. Next game, I would bet that Jameson Williams is the number 1 receiver in fantasy after that. That's how he would be deployed and he'd be looked for. And the part that you don't understand is that their offensive line is number 1 in the NFL PFF. They have Gibbs and Montgomery. They pound bitches. When you pound bitches, the defense have to worry about the run, and that makes the pass so much easier. That's why Laporta would be a slam if St. Brown got hurt too. But my point is that I'm set up perfectly for the playoffs because I have Jameson backing up St. Brown. I have another kid who I really believe in Demario Douglas for the New England Patriots. This kid's a star. He looks like the next. I'm not going to overstate this, and I don't want to get clipped here. But like I'm not gonna say, because I remember I said Nico Collins kind of reminds me of Calvin Johnson. I'll say this: Demario Douglas kind of reminds me of Antonio Brown. Does that mean that they're going to be as good as those two guys? No, it doesn't mean that. Could they be? Maybe. Who knows? We'll see in the next 10 years. But both of them remind me of those players. Demario Douglas, he's got a swagger. You could tell like he believes in himself. He's young as fuck. Nobody doesn't know him. It reminds me of like AB when he came in for Pittsburgh. You know, not like the most highly recruited guy. Wasn't really believed in, slept on. You know what I'm saying? But he just worked through the ranks, and that's exactly what Demario Douglas has done. The difference is that the Patriots are in a bad offense, but I like Ramondre Stevenson. I told you I like Zappy coming back. I think Demario Douglas can be a slam dunk. His schedule is so sexy too. After this bye, he's on a bye this week, and then he plays Demario Douglas. Bye. He has New York Giants. He has LA Chargers. He has Pittsburgh, Kansas City in the playoffs. He has Denver and Buffalo. Yes, and that's right. That's a very, 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 very good schedule for a number one wide receiver. I think that he's playing 90% snaps now. He's the true number one receiver. Everybody else is hurt. Kendrick Bourne's hurt, and he's playing on the outside. He's playing in the slot. He's playing everywhere. He's their featured player besides Ramondre Stevenson and Zeke, their running game essentially. And he's getting the targets. He's gonna have opportunities to score. He had one red zone touchdown target last week. I think that Demario Douglas is a slam. I think that he's going to be a really good player in the league. I think that he's going to emerge. I think he needs a quarterback, but maybe Zappy can spring him up a little bit. But right now he's a serviceable player. He's just missing the touchdowns. If he had a touchdown the last week, people would be talking about him more right now. But I really believe in that talent. I see the way he moves, and I like the fact that he's the number one receiver playing 90% plus snaps, and he's there. If they have to pass the ball with those matchups that they have that are vulnerable against the pass, I think that he's going to be a guy who really emerges here in the next 6 weeks. I'm a big believer. Which brings me to the last trade that came in our league. I briefly talked about how I said, and this is important because I'm talking about trades. The same guy that I was in negotiation with for CMC, he shipped him out to another team, the Criminals, who have a really good ball club. I'll take a look at their screen on the monitor here. They got Kyler Murray, who's a wild card. I thought he looked good in his first week. He doesn't have the best schedule, but I will say that he looks like himself. He looks fast. The problem is that offense sucks. The offensive line's not good. His weapons are very meh. I don't really believe in Hollywood Brown that much, and I don't really believe in McBride that much. But I do like the chance that they're volume with Kyler Murray. But most importantly is Kyler. He looks fast again, and I wasn't sure if that was going to be back or not. So he's got him. He's got Tank Dell, Waddle, DJ Moore, Travis Etienne, Christian McCaffrey, Dalton Schultz, and David Montgomery. That team is absolutely certified. It's certified. He has a certified team. His team is the favorite to win. I would say I'm the second favorite. And then I think Korea and Lee's teams, they got punching power that is like beyond belief. Like they could easily beat you. But I'm going off math. I would say Shane and myself, we're the favorite. And then I would say those two teams mathematically are right there, but they're just under. But all four teams have a really good shot at winning the title this year, in my opinion. Now, what Shane did, the Criminals, is he consolidated talent. The same thing that I said earlier when I talked about trades. I was like, either A, you want to, spread your talent across your team if you're desperate by trading a big piece, i.e. CMC, who I think you should probably never trade first, though I don't think that you can do better most of the time any way you do it, unless you get a 3-for-1. Or you consolidate your talent. And his team matched up well with CMC's team as far as helping him out. CMC's team needed a receiver, and He has 4 good receivers in DJ Moore, Jalen Waddle, and Tank Dell to go along with Garrett Wilson, who I think is the worst one of those 4, by the way. I genuinely feel that way. Yeah, he somehow sold him, and then out of his 4 running backs, because he had 4 good receivers and 4 good running backs. His 4 running backs, he sold the worst one there too. Travis Etienne, David Montgomery, and Kenneth Walker III. He shipped out Kenneth Walker III and Garrett Wilson for CMC. I think an absolute horrific trade. I think that Kicker made a huge mistake. I know that he's desperate, but he didn't understand leverage in a deal and understand that, you are eliminated from the playoffs. If a good team wants CMC, you have the leverage. You can demand what you want to demand because they're the ones that need him. You don't need to do shit. You're eliminated. I mean, obviously you want to fight. You want to fight to win every week. I love that competitive spirit. But if you do that, then you trade CMC very, very fucking high, because what you can always tell them is, fuck off. I don't need to do this trade. I'm eliminated. My shit is meaningless. That's what you say. And then guess what happens? They come knocking, and they want more than what they offered prior because they want CMC. Of course they want CMC. Kenneth Walker III. I posted this on my Instagram, but I'm just going to say it out loud here right now. The last 3 weeks, he's been less than 50% snaps. He's only the goal line back in certain packages. He's not the third and short. Bree, no. He's not the third and short guy right now. Charbonnet is. He's not the third and long guy right now. Charbonnet is. So, like, his 50% of packages aren't even the valuable ones. It's the Charbonnet has the valuable packages. He's the goal line back, essentially, or the short yardage guy, I should say, which is actually the terminology I should have been using with Raheem Mostert and all those guys earlier, is that he is the short yardage guy. That's very important in an offense. Obviously, Jalen Hurts is technically the short yardage guy, which hurts DeAndre Swift's value. I acknowledge that. But yes, the point is that he got away with murder. He's traded Kenneth Walker and Garrett Wilson for CMC. An absolutely fantastic trade for him. I'm happy for him. It is what it is. But the bad team that was not even desperate, they were essentially eliminated, but still trying to fight. They should have demanded 3 guys, or they should have demanded ETN and another piece. Because I know ETN's great, but if you want CMC, you got to give up great for greater. And that's what I would have made him do. I would have said, hey, you have to give me ETN. I know you don't want to give him ETN, but if you want the best running back in all of fantasy, the guy who's an outlier to everybody else, he's fucking projected almost 20 points every week, you got to fucking give the house, bro. You got to give me 3 players. I need to improve in 3 places so I can make up for this shit. And I need ETN, who's damn near, ETN's not even close to being in as good of a situation. CMC and the 49ers, they get in the red zone and their offense is top 5 in the NFL. CMC gets so many opportunities to score points. Travis Etienne, he's great and everything, and I love that he's a 3-down horse, 80% more snap share. He's the short yardage guy. His offense is not as good. They're not moving the ball as enough. But I acknowledge that I think Jacksonville is underperforming. I think that they can be better offensively. I still think CMC is significantly better, that if you're making a trade like this, you demand ETN if they want to improve in that area. And then you force them to start, Montgomery and Kenneth Walker as their other 2 backs. That's what you do in that trade if they want CMC. You take him, and then you take their worst receiver, which I think still would have been Garrett Wilson. Maybe he wanted to ship Tank Dell out, but that's the kind of trade you do, a 2-for-1. And the 2-for-1 is obviously, it's almost scripted from a team that has a lot of depth. The trade is almost like, the trade should usually be the team with the depth is giving too much for one piece. It technically is a ripoff, but it's not a ripoff because it doesn't consider the fact in context that the team with depth has great players to replace the guys that they're giving up to improve one guy by a little bit more. So mathematically, you're gaining like 5 or 6 points, even though you're shipping 3 dogs. That's the kind of trade you do for CMC. And it always looks like, damn, the fucking guy who gave up CMC won the trade, which he should win the trade. That it should never be a debate on that because if the person is trading for CMC 9 times out of 10 in context, they can afford to do it because they have depth. I hope that makes sense. But I wouldn't I don't have fucking Shane's hairstyle. You better quit trying me, Jay. You're wild for saying that. Boy, I got my own style, boy. I got my own style. My question is, why does Shane have the same hairdo? Oh shit, my bad. You didn't even say nothing about me. I apologize to my boy Jay Gay. I see what you did there. Now I read the first comment instead of the other one. Shane's team's legit. Yeah, he is, but fuck Shane. Yeah, that kind of covers a lot of what I wanted to talk about. I hit home on Taysom Hill. I hit home on all the different running backs I want. I'm going to use the bathroom real quick, and then I'm going to go through team by team and give you like a quick summary on like what I think of the situations that they're in currently and like what their values are across the board as far as each player is concerned. And then after that, I'm going to talk a little bit about the game tonight. It's a big fucking game tonight, and then the game will be starting. So what I'm saying is here, let's go through it. All right. Miami, I've touched base enough about them. I don't need to say anything about them. Buffalo, I've said this already, but I'll say another thing quickly here. I think the Ken Dorsey thing was a good thing for James Cook. I really genuinely feel that way. I think that their matchups are tough and they have a bye. So like, I'm not sold on James Cook the rest of the year, but if they move him into like the CMC role, which I think they possibly could do now that Ken Dorsey's out the door, like essentially like, 75, 80% snap share, goal line back, just use him in all different ways because the kid can do everything. He can catch the ball. He can run routes. He can run the ball. He's twitchy. He's fast. His advanced analytics they love James Cook as I do. But until he gets that role, I don't know. I think that Ken Dorsey's being fired is maybe a bad thing for Josh Allen and Diggs, but overall, probably not. I think that if they ran the ball more, it's going to open up the play action and open up other things. So I think Josh Allen will be just fine. And he rushes the ball too much and gets in rushing touchdowns too much to ever be worried about him. He's a glitch. He's top 3. Jets, not bullish on anything on their team. I wouldn't want any part of it, and that includes Breece Hall. If you have him as your flex and he's like your flex, volume guy, then I'm okay with that. Like, it's hard to have a complete team and have a good flex. Like, it's really tough to do. Like, I'm gonna have Mostert or Taysom Hill, and those guys are gonna be around 50% snap share. So that tells you like it's very difficult to have like dogs every single position that are 80% snap share plus they're a dog. So unless he's that guy, I don't want Breece Hall really though. New England, I told you about that already. I talked about that situation. I'm not going to touch on it anymore. Kansas City, I talked about that a little bit as well. I touched on a lot of things subtly, and like, if you're really paying attention to in the weeds, like I already said that Kansas City's identity is completely different this year than prior years. They play really good defense, and they can beat you in a lot of different ways. They can run the ball, they can pass, they can rely on Pat Mahomes just making one or two big plays a game, and they can beat you that way. The same way they beat the Miami Dolphins. Um, but with that being said, I think that all their fantasy value is a little bit down as far as offenses are concerned. But they're still elite. You still want every piece that you can as far as the big names. Rashawn Rice, I'm bullish on him. I'm bullish on Kelsey. I'm bullish on Pacheco. Obviously love Mahomes and Kelsey. So I like all those guys. Everybody else is a sit guy, but you kind of want to monitor them though. You never know, man. Kadarius could heat up out of nowhere. It could happen. Las Vegas, I don't like anything on their team. I would sell Josh Jacobs. I think I pretty much covered it by the way I spoke about Breece Hall. That's the way I feel about Jacobs. He's a great flex. If you have him as your flex, you're winning. But more than likely, you could probably ship him out. And I wouldn't want him to be a main piece of my team. I wouldn't want him to be my running back 1 or 2. That team, and offensively, they're not going to move the ball that well, in my opinion, with that quarterback. LA Chargers, Keenan Allen and Eckler and Herbert are all slams. Everybody else, I think they're just mediocre. If Quentin Johnson's your third receiver, I think it's okay. But if you're starting Quentin Johnson, more than likely your team's struggling a little bit, I think. Denver, that's a weird one. They're playing a lot better defense right now. I'm really bullish on Javonte Williams. I think that rest of the year he's going to be top 10. He looks great, and he's getting the snaps. I don't really like Sutton or Judy or Russell Wilson, but I'm okay with you having to start him if you have to on all three of those guys, Judy, Sutton, and Russell. If you're in a must start, it is what it is, and I think it's a decent gamble. They have a good enough offense where you can, and with Javonte emerging, I think that helps open up other things. Baltimore, the game tonight against Cincinnati, we'll combine these two because I am running a little short on time. I ranted a lot tonight. I think Baltimore and Cincinnati is a really tough game to cap. 3.5, I probably would take the points. I probably would bet Joe. It's prime time. Joe always shows up. This is kind of like a playoff game for them. The last 2 years, they were both 5-4, both those last 2 years. And both years, they were like a play away from being in the Super Bowl. One being in the Super Bowl, the other one a play away against Kansas City. They were in a hell game in that conference championship last year. They could have easily won that game. So Cincinnati, they seem to always turn it up at this time of year. They already have. They ran into a buzzsaw with C.J. Stroud and the Texans last week. So I think if you gunned ahead, I would take the points. But Baltimore is really freaking good this year. I think that they're vulnerable in their secondary. So I think that is actually a place that could be taken advantage of by Jamar Chase. It really just depends on how they scheme up their defense. They're really good against the run. I think that Joe's going to be in a lot of third downs, and I think T. Higgins at being out is going to hurt him a little bit. And in this game, because it's going to be a lot of 3rd and 7s. There's going to be a ton of 3rd and 7s in this game. I think in a perfect world, what's going to end up happening is they're going to be throwing the ball a lot on 1st down because they think that's their best opportunity to take advantage of the defense. I got a guest coming in right now too, and he'll come in right up into game time for about 10 minutes here, and then we'll get out of here. that's enough for tonight, guys. I got the guess. I'm gonna call it a night. I'm a rant Sunday more. When we get on, I'm gonna get on at 11 a.m. Sunday and rant. I'm gonna pick up right where I left off, which was the Cincinnati Bengals and Ravens. I was analyzing their teams. As far as before I finished there, I said I would take the points with Cincinnati tonight, but it would be gun to head kind of thing. It's a no play. But with that being said, Cincinnati, I like everybody on that offense the rest of the year. I wouldn't mind having a piece of all of it. Mixon, he's kind of like a flex guy. I'd be okay with him being my flex, and that's about it. But I'm okay with Higgins if he gets healthy, and obviously love Chase. I like Burrow. Don't love him, like him. And then on the other side of the ball, Andrews is a sharp play every week. I think Zay Flowers is kind of a must play, even though you're not getting the production you want. It's kind of like the Pollard situation. He's in a top 10 offense. I think it's inevitable that like the numbers get better for him. He's a special athlete in a good offense. So I buy Zay Flowers. And then Lamar, you're frustrated, and I would rather have somebody more consistent, but it does have a super high ceiling every single week. He can go for 40 any week. So I think if you have him, you just play him. You're probably not in a good spot right now, but hopefully you won weeks because of him in certain weeks this year, and then you've won weeks in spite of him with your rest of your team in other weeks. So I think Lamar is still extremely high buy and a guy that you should be in love with because they're in a top 5 offense, top 10 offense, and they can run the ball. They have a great offensive line. So on this, that talks about both teams there. And then so I'll pick up right there on the AFC North on Sunday. Y'all enjoy the game, though. This is going to be a good one tonight. I'm looking forward to it. Peace.